All right, so we have Hustler and Cub Cadet out today. There's a 104 Hustler Hyperdrive. Pretty excited to test that out. As you can see here, this has the Kawasaki FX 1000V on it. And this still runs the same pump and wheel motor as mine, correct? Dan Fu's pump with a 21cc wheel motor, or does it actually have bigger pump and motor?
The same size wheel motor, but it's more of a high torque because you do not have the full ground speed that the Hyperdrive does.
Okay, all right.
11, 12 mile an hour ground speed on this one versus 16 on the Hyperdrive.
All right, so I don't know if you guys heard that, but this is going to run about 11 or 12 mile per hour. I love on these how they're putting these rubber mats in them now in comparison to the other one, and then all the aesthetics that they've done on the newer ones. That makes me want to buy a new one. Now, on the other models like mine, it looked like these are the old style tanks where the new ones have a different tank than what this is, like the 23s on...
104 is going through what they call a product refresh.
Okay.
So we will debut the new style tanks similar to the new ones at
GIE
Equip Expo this fall in October.
Okay, excellent. So you guys heard that. The new 104 is going to have a few aesthetic changes with the tank and everything, as now it has the 22 and back tanks. Here's your wings mower thing. It's basically just like mine, but you've got the 2 extra buttons to fold your wings up. And then we have over here the Cub Cadet. What is the exact numbers on this? All right, so this is a hillside mower, and I'm super excited to test that because you know I love hills. So basically you've got front steering and you've got 2 wheels in the back. And what is the slope degree on this that they selling point? 25 compared to 15. So a regular mower is normally rated at 15 and below, where these are 25. These only come in a 72-inch deck, and as you can see, it's pedal drive instead of like your hydrostatic levers that most of them come with. It's also steering wheel. I've never drove a steering wheel mower, so that's going to be fun. Here's your side panel and how it's set up. So is the deck and everything on this automated?
It's a hydraulic lift on the deck.
Okay, so hydraulic lift on the deck, 72-inch, and air ride seat. This is also running FX 1000V. What's your guys' thoughts on Kawasaki over Briggs? Do you have a preference? I'm a Kawasaki man. Now mine run Briggs, but I'm a Kawasaki man. I think they hold their RPM better. Any thoughts on that?
I have had good performance out of both.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, what I tell customers is get with something you like.
Right.
Your dealer has good support on.
Okay.
And you're in good shape, regardless of which one is Vanguard or Kawasaki.
It seems like the Briggs runs a little bit quieter. As like when you're running, yes. It seems like they're quieter on the machines. And that was one of the things I noticed when I picked up the first Briggs and Stratton, which was on a Dixie chopper. And it was just a carbureted, but it still was quieter than ours was. Now, all 3 of these units are running Parker wheel motors. Yeah, I was wondering how you got that up. Okay, so if you're mowing a very wild hill, you can just leave that open and it'll kind of shift with
15
your...
degrees.
Well, that is wild.
15 degrees. So you're on a 15 degree slope, you let that thing go, you'll be going level.
And it doesn't feel like you're out of control with it, kind of just shifts.
We strongly suggest if you're just, hitting level ground, lock it in.
Right.
It's gonna be weird, but once you're on that slope though, no, it's a nice natural feeling once you get going with it.
That is a nice feature. Seems like you guys thought about a whole lot on that deal. And that basically just, it won't auto lock. When you've got it out, it stays in, and then how do you do it? You turn it?
Back, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, and then it'll peg right back in place, spring loaded. Nice. All right. And then this over here is a Cub Cadet Surepath. This is a semi-autonomous deal, so it will not mow by itself completely. Is that correct?
Correct. Once you set the line on this as you're mowing, you will have to hit the button up here to either go left or right.
Okay.
And it will turn and come right back on that line. Now you can have anywhere from up to 4 inches overlay, so you can make it tight, or you can leave about 3 or 4 inches, or 2 to 4 inches, for example. just give you a little overcut on that.
But the minimum overcut's about 2 inches.
Yeah.
And I think that would be smart. If you go much below that, if your deck's off camber, you're going to have a mohawk if you get very out there. And this one's basically set up the same way as the SDL. You've got front steering and a steering wheel on there.
Sure. So it's yeah, the whole layout, just the SDL you just looked at in this unit, they're all in the 900 series, set up as far as the deck, gauging, the frame and all that. There's all, that we use that across the board on that end of it. So just a matter of the application from there.
Just guessing off all these motors being Kawasaki, I think these guys like Cowie better. I'm not going to put them out there, but I'm just going to guess by the motors on all of them, and they're all higher end Kawasaki's. But we're going to run some of these units, do some tests on them today. You guys stay tuned.
Inside.
Okay, I've seen those little ones.
LED lights here.
Okay.
You've
Beacon.
got a safety beacon. One of the things that makes this machine so maneuverable and well on a slope, we have front wheel weights.
I see that in there.
It is power steering. You've got tilt steering wheel for comfort. One of the things that I do really like on the Parker deal is, let's say you get it hung up or you've got somewhere, that you've got to roll it or load it without because it won't run or whatever. When you flip the parking brake off, flip that lever up and you've disengaged all your hydros.
Okay, so you don't have to get under the mower, right?
And twist a knob or anything like that on each hydro.
So you can see what he did there. You've got this put neutral, and then you can disengage your parking brake.
But then when you pull your parking brake back up, it automatically locks that lever back in with your parking brake assembly.
Nice.
We do have fuel valves on both tanks. We recommend that you only run one tank at a time.
Okay.
Just so if you get one tank lower than the other one, you can go to sucking a little air if you're trying to run both at the same time. So we try to run one and then swap to the other tank when it's necessary.
But if you want, you can leave both open and you never have to switch tanks like manually.
You can, but if one tank feeds faster than the other, if you go to sucking air, it's going to make the engine run rough.
Okay. These are.
And then, like when to that point with the bypass, when you're starting on a cold day like spring or fall, the transmission's not engaged, so it's a little easier to start as well because it always, if you put the brake on,
that cold oil,
right?
It disengages it. So
nice.
But yeah, I mean this,
What is the weight on a unit like this?
Oh, this is around 1,800 pounds. When I'm at 19, I'll stay.
And a regular one's anywhere from 900 to 1,300.
In your Pro Series, most of them's going to be in that 12 to 15, I would say.
Okay.
Like in the Hustler Hyperdrive.
Right.
It's like 1475, I think.
Right.
I think this is like 1850 or 75, so I just say 19.
Okay.
But,
well, it's just it looks like it has a whole lot more metal to it. All the steering and stuff like that. So I just was curious. And you guys, I mean, this metal here, what is that? 1/4 inch plating all the way around?
5/16.
Yeah, that's some pretty thick metal.
Side skirts on that side as well. You got a 1/4 inch up here on the front on your nose roll, for example.
Now, is there baffling in this to change the cut?
Is, yeah.
Okay.
And yes, you can. And then there's also, as you can see, there's no strings holding this together. There's no animals or gerbils or squirrels running it. We put some thought into it. There's no doubt. But like on a deck is 7 gauge, but you also see where it's reinforced with another 7 gauge ring up here, and there's also one underneath, so it's triple 7 gauge.
Now let me ask you this: is this blade type like the Skag is, where you have to take this bolt all the way out? Does it go all the way through the bearing to get the blade out?
It does, I believe.
So someone can't just take right. Well, just looking at it, it seems like that might be the case, but I'm not sure. I'll look up under it and see if it has a bolt, because that to me was harder to do. No.
It's not.
I'm thinking they did away with the bolt through.
Yeah, I don't think it's that way, because it has a bolt on the bottom going up into the blade, and
I think you've got a bolt on each end.
And you can take it out either way, which is good, because
The top one pulls the pulley and the bottom one pulls the blade. So.
that was the thing for me that I didn't like about the Skag, was because to take the blade off. So if you want to sharpen it or anything,
you got to reach both sides of the deck,
and you had to have it way up in the air to get that out. Now that's just their design. I'm not saying that makes it cut worse or better. I'm just saying for the average user, if you don't have a lift or something to get that blade off, it's 10 times as hard. And if this thing was, as heavy as it is, it's going to be a little harder to do if it was like it. So I just wanted to point that out and make sure. But it looks to me, like I said, and like he said, he didn't know, but it looks like to me that you can take it out from the bottom by just taking the bolt out that presses it to that actual assembly down there. Is there anything else on this mower that we might have missed? Cast iron axles.
Yeah, on your wheel, steering wheel units, you have we use cast iron, for example, in that area. All your 5, 7, 9s all run on a 3/8 inch by 5 inch rail, fully welded, no bolts. We even use the 3/8 here, like on the lift in it as well. So again, as far as durability wise and putting the steel behind it, I don't, again, we certainly done that.
Looking at these mowers in person, these look so much like even before Stanley owned both companies, they share so many characteristics with Hustler. Like this part here and everything, all that, how the deck's held on, that reminds, even the plating and how the front of the deck is, reminds me of how Hustler's set up. I seen this at the show.
So you did, so that's where
and I was like, what in the world? But that's
where the magic happens.
Right.
As far as the synchronized steering works.
Do you have any trouble out of that with like debris getting in there and messing with the linkage or anything? Is that something you have to constantly
just pull that panel and blow it out once a day?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of your mowing.
So a little more maintenance, that part.
I mean, I can personally say that not much accumulates.
Okay.
But when we're demoing and when I'm done, we usually blow it out. I tell customers I would blow it every time you get done, just to be on the safe side.
Right, right.
As you can see, it just pops up.
And to be perfectly honest with you, if you're maintaining your unit properly,
right,
you're blowing the deck off,
correct,
around the engine and pumps anyway.
But most people don't.
Well, most people don't.
I mean, if you took 20 people, you're gonna have about 2 or 3 of them that might actually do that. So it's one of them things that's like, the average person's like, I ain't gonna blow that thing out, So I'm just curious if you got people that didn't maintenance their thing, if that was like a major issue, like you was getting built up in it. Because, I mean, I've had people say that their motor's overheating, it's because their radiator's full of mud.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It just, there's common sense thing, but not a lot of people share that aspect. So you're appealing to everybody. Right.
Well, and to your point, that's why they're maintenance-free spindles for that reason as well.
Okay.
People just don't, that. People
don't grease them.
Do the maintenance, but they forget to, and by the time they get around to it, maybe it's 5 years went by or something.
Right, right.
And 9 times out of 10 on greasable bearings like spindles, you got, most of the time, you've got 1 or 2 type of customers.
I already tell you
there. Never grease them.
And one that over.
Ones that over grease them and blow the seals out. So,
right. Right.
Maintenance-free is by far, on average, is the best setup.
Correct. I agree with that.
And one thing I was going to show you was, so one thing that they really thought out well, if you've got low trees or something, that is still OSHA certified as a safety rock.
Still better than nothing.
Where, because of the height, it's still above the operator's head. Most manufacturers, you're either up or down. So this one actually has a 3rd setting where you can fold it all the way down. But if you need to fold it down to this to get under something, you are still OSHA certified. Okay.
Yeah, you guys can see there, it's got a halfway lock instead of where it just folds down completely flat out of the way and then it's useless. Usually you've got one beam up and all the way down. You do not have an in between. So you've got that for high trees. That is super handy. I think that's a great idea. Maybe all the companies will incorporate that. All right, so we're going to test this one first on the hillsides and kind of get an idea of how it performs on hills. And so I'm going to let one of them drive it, and then we'll go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let him just come down this hillside and let you guys kind of see. And you guys know this is the hillside that we always go down and have all the mowers, perform on. So I want to see, because that's rated at 20% down, and so he's going to mow just all around, or not mow, but he's going to drive it all around in this area, and that way you guys can see how it does. Now I can tell you on my Hyperdrive, if I'm going down this hill, I've got to go really slow in the downhill direction to make it not want to shift. And the grass here is a little bit damp right now. There's no way you're doing that on a regular zero turn. The one thing I wonder is how much tear up you get with that steering wheel. Now they were saying when you turn, you have to turn completely one direction or the other, or it will lock up one tire. I guess it's got a stopping point in the steering that makes you know when you're going to do a complete turn on it. Now can you go up the hill and then come down like straight right through here and try to stop on like that stopping point, or like right in this area? Yeah, just try to stop just so we can see how it stops like on a hill going straight down. I tell you what, that thing's extremely wide. He's just gonna come down this area and try to stop. I'll tell him when to stop. Can you back up? Oh, so that's pretty good. The tires on that are really, really knobby. I mean, that's going to help a whole lot with how these do. Yeah, I mean, that displays it well. I've got another spot in the back, but we'll go ahead and try some cuts on this back part. This is going to cut the same as the same deck, ain't it, as the SDL?
This is, I mean, as far as the 72-inch, yeah, you're going to get the same cut.
Right. I just want to make sure with this one it's same.
This is the, but this same as the SD.
Right.
This is the SDL, yeah.
Okay.
Exact.
All right, we'll take it in the back and we'll do a few cuts with it. So to change the blade, you lift it up with the hydraulics and then shift this arm and put your pin in where the number's set at.
Right.
And you've got 5 points that do that?
Yes, you've got the main deck is right here. We'll change it here in just a second.
Okay.
The deck changes better if you've got it up a little over a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
So,
To take the weight off.
Second from the back on the bottom.
I'm ready. So he's gonna go out into this thick and cut this. This is a rear discharge, and this is a 104-inch cut. I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty impressive cut. I didn't think that it was gonna do that good. Right, he's getting in the thick out there. Look how wide that path is. It looks like 2 zero turns went through there. So you guys can see here. Now that, remember, that's rear discharge. And this is probably 2 foot tall to 3, depending on which weeds you're looking at, but the thick of it is probably a foot tall from his cut. Now he's coming back with it. He's probably got a 6-inch overlay where his path is running. So there it is there. I mean, you've got some scragglers, but he ain't playing around. He's moving on through there. I mean, you've got stuff like this that's super hard that it didn't suck up all of it. But for a cut on that, that's impressive. I'm not gonna lie, that's impressive. I didn't expect it to do that good. I mean, you know, just 1, rear discharge, and 2, how much it's taken on in that deck. Are these any deeper? Are they the same depth as like a normal Hyperdrive? So basically it's the same style.
Yes.
It's just a bigger deck.
It's just a bigger version of our standard rear discharge that you would get on your Supers or your Hyperdrive.
That's a good looking cut. That's a pass. All right, so we'll try this. This is the Pro Z900 SDL 972. And what is we're setting all the decks. So the blades.
4 1/4, is that what we're looking for?
I can't remember what it measured. I tell you what, drive up here to the concrete first, and I'll measure it. All right, so we try to get all the blades where they're around 4 inches to 4 1/8. So we're gonna measure this one. I've still got my Hyperdrive set. This one has new blades on it. So we're gonna see what the height of the blade is. Okay, so let's get this over here. I always measure from the side, and that way, if the deck is pitched or the tires or whatever, you know, this is gonna be the medium for the whole thing. What are you setting at now?
4 1/4.
I tell you what, step off of it so we don't have the weight pressed down, because that may make a difference. All right, so we're at 4 and probably a 32nd, which is about where I try to get them. And you're setting at 4 1/4?
Yeah.
All right, that's good enough. Let's send it. I just try to get them as close as possible so there's nothing that can be said like, oh, he's mowing at 5 inches, he's mowing at 4. I'm still impressed with that cut. Did you think it was going to do that good?
I thought it was still a little dewy, probably.
Right. And you can see just a little bit of dew on this grass. He's going a hair slower than that mower was. We'll see how it does on the comeback. Once it gets into the thicker, you can see some of the scragglers as you get into the thick. Now those are side discharge, so all your clippings are going to go away, whereas the other one leaves the cut on top of the grass. He's discharging probably 8 foot out, maybe 9 foot. That's 72 inch. It's a good cut too. I didn't even mention what this is running. So this is running Is that considered a mulching blade? A mulching medium lift?
It's a high lift blade, yeah.
I wouldn't say
It's
it's
in that middle ground.
yeah, I'd say that's a mid lift with a mulch because it's got a dip and then it goes back. Most time that's what they say. Now I know you got gator blades, it's got the wings on the back, but some companies have the S in the blade and some don't. I just try to give people the most knowledge so they know what it is. Now I run high lifts, which tend to pull the grass up a little bit higher, which usually produces a better cut. But I haven't, just so everybody knows, I haven't sharpened these in probably a month and a half. And I did mow a bunch of sticks yesterday, but regardless, we'll still see the cut on it. So here's my 66. You can see down through there, it really bogged at this front part where it was super thick. You can see here. And then as we go down, it smoothed out because it got a little thinner, but you can still see scragglers on both sides. So that is, you guys tell? I mean, it's still a beautiful cut, but just so you can see. And then here's, you know, it's gonna leave clippings on top because it's a rear discharge, but you know, if you're looking at it from cut quality, it got majority of it, and that's 104. And then here is the Cub 72 inch. So I have the littlest cut out of all of these. You guys can be the judge. And they all had some scragglers once you got into the super thick, which is normal. This is running a 37.5 Briggs & Stratton fuel injected. Those are running the FX1000 Kawasaki. And that's 28, or 38.5, yeah. Did you think it was going to do that good, Nat? Had you run it in something like that before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I thought that was a real good cut. All right, so basically this is rear discharge. He's gonna make a pass, same height as we've been cutting. He's gonna make a pass down this, which gets thicker as you go. And he's also on uneven terrain. If you look, I've got a dip right here, and this wing is up, this is flat, and then this is kind of pitched down on the side. So to give you guys an idea of how it's gonna do on uneven terrain also. Fire it up. I mean, for the deck to be pitched differently than that, that did pretty smooth cut. And now he's going right beside him. This one's 72 inch. For that rear discharge to cut like it did, it seemed like it didn't have any clippings laying on top. So, I mean, that seemed pretty smooth. And here's your Cub cut. You can see some scragglers in there that are still sticking up, which some of this is really good grass and some of it's not so good. But you can see the cut on there. Here it is in the opposing direction. But that rear discharge did really well to not be blowing out the side. It seemed like it contoured to the terrain just fine. We do? Okay. I'll make a cut. We'll all just go down there and then I'll video that too. Because that helps me. You know what it is good to display on it. And so if you see something that's like a perfect display, let me know. So we'll look at Hustler's cut here. We're going in the opposite direction. Let's get up here where it was the thickest. So here it's getting in the thick. You see I went over that rise there? I mean, all of these are cutting really, really well. You've got where it went over that crest and the deck kind of bounced a little bit. Right there's one sticking up. But all of these mowers have a specific role. These are not necessarily all in the same class, but I knew you guys would want to see this. So he's going to take it down here and display how this wing folds over this hillside. You can see here it's beveled. So he's going to run it sideways and see how this wing folds over the hillside there. So like if you had very uneven terrain, you could tell how this was going to fold or whatever. You can see the weight of it kind of pulled it over a little bit right in that area, so you'd have to watch on hillsides. That thing's heavy. his right wing was all the way there, and you can see where he went around. Hey, you go like that. All right, so he's gonna go down this. If you guys remember on my Hyperdrive, you could see that I couldn't back up once I got so far. And then he's gonna turn at the bottom. That's ridiculous smooth. I thought for a minute we was gonna have a good show. So this one has front wheel steering on it, which really helps with the dual rear tires. So you've got all kinds of driving force on there. That was impressive. That's really good for a mower. Like I said, you're about to see.
So would that already feel like?
But what I want to show people is just how that performs so much
Yeah.
better on a hill like this, trying to turn. Turn and one of my tires has to shift, where that has front steering and can steer at the same time as the rear tire shift. I've got to really manipulate and know how to drive one of these in comparison to this that you could put a novice person on a hillside and have a better, smoother transition, or a lower end operator just put them on there and they know what they're doing and still do the job. This is a little bit harder to manipulate and still did really well. I didn't think it was going to do as good as it did, but you can see both machines where this has two rear tires, this has a single, tractor tread, normal tread. So he's
First it's going to flash blue like that. It's just trying to acquire a signal.
So this connects to GPS. If any of you farmers are on here, it's just like when you're planting crops and stuff, it's just going to give you the overlay of the land once it maps it, and then so you can be super efficient. He said basically once you set it and you get your line, then you basically control the pedals, and then you push a button on the steering wheel or on the control, and it'll turn you and do your overlap for you. So it's blinking green right now, so I think that means it's ready.
Well, it's
Okay.
taking a little longer out here, but that's all. We know it gets it.
Yeah.
Really got it.
All right, so we're going to test this autonomous part of this, and you'll see how it works out here. I'm going to take it and just go down, back, right through there. I'm actually going to start at the other end so I don't blow the garbage in there, but let's get down here and see. This steering wheel is kind of weird, but I like it. So I push this button to get it started, and then I'll go to the other end and push it again of where I want to be at. So there's one line. There's my other line. So it should automatically be ready now. I'm going to start the mower and... Okay, so... This shifts me left and right. See my overlap right there. Now I'm going to push this button again. I just push that button and it's automatically turning me left and right. You control how fast it goes. Let's see if it'll go back in its own line. So look, it's putting its tires right back in its old tire marks. come here. So I'm gonna put my wife on here and see what she thinks. Remember, don't steer. Don't use the steering wheel. And now start going forward and just hit the right green button and it'll turn right for you. So look at that. It's gonna back her up and give it throttle. There you go. Just hold your foot on the pedal. Don't touch the steering wheel. So don't steer it. Now turn it the other way. So as you can see, she just hits the button and keeps her foot on the throttle and it automatically tracks. And you can see where it's going at in its, so I'd come one pass up and one pass down. So basically someone could map a field with this and you never have to steer anything. You just pedal it and it'll perfectly stripe your fields and stuff. I think they was saying that it did the Indiana 500, but if you look at the tire marks, I mean, they're just right beside each other and you never have to use the steering wheel. All right, come back up here. Is that wild? That's wild, ain't it? You can steer with it. It just got the autonomous thing on there if you want to use it.
I wouldn't want to.
Oh, you wouldn't want What do you think about the steering wheel?
I love the steering wheel, but I haven't got a chance to use it.
Drive it around. You don't have to, just don't use that. Just drive it around and use those. Yeah, just drive around. Let's get her thoughts on it. You would mow if you had that? Well, the key over there.
No, I like the steering wheel. I'd feel comfortable with it.
You like the steering wheel?
Of course I would.
I mean, that little thing folds up and down so you can fit it to your body and scoot back and forth. But the autonomous thing,
I don't think I would ever use that.
yeah, but it would make you strike perfectly every time.
Oh, well then, but I don't know how to stride.
Well, see, that does it for you, though. Because, see, it keeps you where it turns automatically. So once you make your pass, so like if you start here, once you set your line, like I did, you touch this. Once it's locked on the GPS, you touch this just at the start.
Yeah.
And then you just drive to wherever you want the other spot, and it sets your line perfectly straight from each other. And then you can push the pedals fast or slow as you want.
Right.
But when you get to the end of your line, you push this button, and it'll automatically turn.
It will look exactly the same every turn.
Right. And so and also your overlay, it'll keep
that
your.
way you would trust me keeping your.
Right. You wouldn't mess the stripes up. You would stay right on key every time and be perfect. I know, that one's a monster, ain't it? I like that one too. That one's 72 inches, Wells.
What's the other one?
Huh?
What's the other one?
So he was telling me on this Surepath that this is the only one that you can get it on, this series here. And it's obviously an upgrade that you buy for it. The first year comes free with the GPS, but then the second year and on, you've got to buy the subscription to make it work and lock on. I think it's $1,000 or roughly $1,000 per year. So you've got to have that into your cost. And I'm not sure how much it is to add that on. You can look on the website and see most of that stuff. But I was impressed with how close it got the gaps when it was mowing in there. My wife really liked the steering wheel on that. I guess it'd be something you get used to, but she feels safer with the steering wheel. So I put it in this ditch here just to show you how that wing rides up. I mean, it's able to follow through that ditch and go up that. I just went through it and come out, and you can see here, once I start moving forward, it'll contour this down because this is the high side. But I think you could mow this property with this. You might have to mow a little bit high, probably 4.5 to 4 3/4, but I think that it would be able to do it. Now, it's not going to stripe like a normal mower, but it drives really good. See how it mowed? I 100% know that Kawasaki will hold its RPM better than the Briggs. I know it will. At least it seems like it with mine. See, he's got the wings up. So this will fit in the same size trailer as the other ones will because it sucks the wings in. And what is the width from tire to tire like on a trailer? Do you know that? Like the width from right here to
Usually somewhere about 82 inches.
about 82 inches?
But on most, like, of your landscape trailers,
Yeah.
if you look, those tires will actually go over top of the rail on most of them.
Okay.
So you don't have to have hardly as much.
Right, I see what you're saying. Where the fenders are inside. So see, he's got a normal box trailer here that he puts it in. If you had an open deck, it'd be the same way. This one's whole seat will shift sideways. This is one that's a rocking seat. So when I get it on a hillside, it still keeps me sitting flat. A little bit rougher than a Hyperdrive is. I think as long as you stay moving, you wouldn't really tear up much grass with those tires, but you would want to stay moving. And this thing's pretty heavy, I can tell, but man, it maneuvers well. I think it would wear me out pushing the pedal though. In comparison, I prefer the lap bars over the steering wheel. Just my opinion.